Election day ended with the announcement of the national...
The 2025 general elections were held in Ecuador on Sunday, April 13th. The results published by the National Electoral Council give as winner to Daniel Noboa. However, this process is under scrutiny because, according to specialists, there was a fraud of origin. Our correspondent Gabriela Mena tells us the details.
In Ecuador, Election day ended with the announcement of the National Electoral Council CNE giving Daniel Noboa as the winner. However, this result generates surprise among diverse sectors. For experts, the scenario that Ecuador is going through can be cataloged as a fraud of origin. This because Daniel Noboa remained as president and candidate, managing to maneuver from the executive in his favor.
It is not only the political pressure on the one hand, but also the lack of autonomy and of guaranteeing the transparency of these processes by the CNE. That is, unfortunately in Ecuador the law is there, but it ends up being dead slow because it happens that they remain at the service of the government in power. The law is not complied with.
But there is more. Noboa not only used state funds, which exceed $570 million, but he also used constitutional resources to decree a state of exception in Quito and 7 provinces where the candidate for the citizen revolution, Luisa Gonzalez, had the highest percentage of acceptance. In addition, he did not request a license from the National Assembly to begin his campaign period and only notified the CNE, ignoring the Ecuadorian constitution.
We must take into account that there has been a discrediting of the left and of progressivism and humanism, giving the impression that if a person, a candidate, a politician or a public official is progressive or humanist or has this tendency, he or she is a leftist and is practically associated with crime. That is what these people have been saying.
All this has made the different electoral observers question the lack of action on the part of the National Electoral Council and the transparency of this democratic day, for which they even sent an official letter to the CNE notifying them of these localized irregularities. In addition, they question why Daniel Noboa closed his electoral campaign with international artists when the Code of Democracy does not allow it.
Noboa, como yo lo he dicho en varias ocasiones, es una amenaza para la democracia.
Noboa, as I have said on several occasions, is a threat to democracy. He is a threat to the rule of law. What is going to happen now that he has all the power and has been re-elected for 4 more years? It is very likely that there is a high risk that he will commit more abuses and that it will be an arbitrary government.
From the Citizen Revolution, the candidate, Luisa Gonzalez, stated that she does not acknowledge the results presented by the CNE and affirmed that fraud was committed in the registration of votes to benefit him against the will of the people, a point with which the citizens agree.
We must open the ballot boxes because the fraud was seen. The fraud is seen. It is seen because in the territory we were talking to the people. In the territory it was seen that they were all with Luisa.
Now, the Citizen Revolution and allied forces, as well as multiple sectors of the citizenry, demand the reopening of the polls and transparency of the results, as well as the investigation of the last-minute arbitrary changes in electoral precincts, the military intimidation and obstruction of electoral observers, and, above all, the manipulation of official records.
Gabriela Mena, teleSUR Ecuador.